Namaste. Shall we do meditation today? Om Pratarsmarami Hridi Samspuradatmatattvam Satchit Sukham Paramahamsagatim Turiyam Yat Swapna Jagara Sushuptam Abhaiti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nacha Bhuta Sangaha. I meditate on my essential nature as Brahman. I seek the blessings of Ishvara to help me see that my essential nature is Brahman. I take myself to be an embodied self, having a beginning and a form, a body, the subtle mind, and all the instruments for transacting in this life. This is my conclusion about who I am. I am a living being, breathing, alive, with a form and a function, a purpose, having a specific place on this on the earth. As such, when the Vedic knowledge is given to me that your essential nature is Brahman, Brahman which is formless, without any attributes, including birth, changes in any form, formless. I have a hard time understanding and behaving like Brahman. I am so used to seeing myself as a jiva, as a functioning living being. In this regard of the difficulty in seeing myself as Brahman, the prakriya, the method to overcome this difficulty is the prakriya of seeing one's reflection in the mirror. To do this viveka between myself, the Brahman, and myself as a living being, I meditate on the example, the prakriya, the method of a person looking at one's reflection. In this example of looking at self, looking oneself either in a mirror or in a moving body of water that reflects me, is a very useful way to distinguish between myself as Brahman and myself as a living being. Indeed, the reflection looks like me, but it does not gain the status of me. It is merely a reflection. The jiva, the living being that I consider myself to be, is in fact my reflection, the jiva, borrows its existence from me, the Brahman. Whereas I don't move, the reflection is not stationary, it's moving depending on the surface. Whereas I, the Brahman, is independent, the jiva is dependent. I am never born, always there, but the jiva, but I as the jiva does have a beginning. And anything that begins will end one day. It has a beginning, it has many changes, it depends upon a number of factors. There are many reflecting surfaces. My mind, my body, my indriyas, both jnana indriyas and karma indriyas, are all moving. I meditate on the fact that I, the Brahman, the Sakshi, the conscious entity, was there even before I took birth in this life. I meditate on the fact that my status as a jiva is temporary. I was given a birth as a jiva. I transact with the world as a jiva. And I, as the jiva, will need to change my setup because the reflecting surfaces are deteriorating. But my real self I, the Sakshi, the Brahman, as the Kutastha, as the substratum, as the person looking at the reflection, remains the same. Even time does not characterize Brahman. It always is. That is the core of Ishvara. I pray to Ishvara to help me see that I, the jiva, is merely a reflection of who I really am. I meditate on seeing this distinction between the person and the person's reflection again and again. I meditate on the words of the Shastra, which say that one should do yoga and abhyasa. Yoga here means viveka, being able to see the distinction between the seer and the reflection, And abhyasa means to do this distinction again and again. I pray to Ishvara to lessen my identity with the jiva and to increase my identity with myself, the Brahman, through repeated practices. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us begin the class. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Pyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Shanno Mitra Shamvarunaha Shanno Bhavat Varyama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmam Avatu Tadvaktaram Avatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yaschandasam Rishabho Vishwarupaha Chandobhyodhyamritaat sambabhuva Samendro medhaya aspranotu Amritasya devadharano bhuyasam Shariram me vicharshanam Jihva me madhumattama Karna abhyam bhuri vishruvam Brahmanav koshosi medhaya pihitaha Shrutam me gopaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Aham Rikshasya Reriva Kirtif Prishtam Gireriva Urdhva Pavitro Vajiniva Sramritamasmi Dravina Gumsavarchasam sumedha amritokshitaha itirtishankorvedanuvacanam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Apyayantu mama angani Vak pranas chakshuh shrotramatho balamindriyani cha sarvani. Sarvam brahma upanishadam maham brahma nirakuryam mama brahma nirakarot anirakaranamastu anirakaranam me astu tadatmani nirateya upanishatsu dharma te mayi santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam avir maedhi vedasya maani isthaha shrutam me ma prahasi anenaditena ahoratran sandadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bhadram no apivataya manaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bhadram karnebhi shrunuyama devaha. Bhadram pashyema akshabhiryajatraha. Sthirairangai istushtvagum sastanubhi. Vyashema devahitan yadayuhu. Swastina indro vriddhishravaha. Swastina pusha vishvavedaha. Swastina starksho arishtanemihi. Swasti no brihaspatir dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam. Yo vai vedamscha prahinoti tasmai. Tamha devamatma buddhi prakasham. Mumukshurvai sharanaham prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so let us continue on with the Alata Shanti Prakaranam. And I'm very happy to have sort of switched over to Swami Paramarthananda's commentary on this because before that I was following Swami Maheshananji, as you know. And I think in terms of the summary that the Alata Shanti Prakaranam, the last one, provides, and the structure and the way Swami Paramarthananda has given, is really excellent. I am enjoying it very much. So continuing with that. So as you know, what was going on was that Gaudapadaji was dissecting the truth of all viewpoints, whether it is even Vedic viewpoints or non-Vedic viewpoints, which we will see in more detail today, and really looking at the fallacies in those viewpoints, and finally asking us to see the truth about what is really going on. This is what the process is. So as part of that, he started by saying that really even Brahman, to be considered as a Karana is not proper, because that means the Brahman would also have to change. Anytime you have a Karana-Karya relationship, the Karana also has to change. In the example of the gold and the ornamentation of gold, this can be seen, because in a gold also, even though the gold doesn't change, but it kind of changes. A certain portion of the ornament has been extracted from the gold, so it can be argued that it is not really the same gold as it was to be before. And so this is why the example of the rope and snake is much more important, and which underlines the very basis of the non-change, which Gaudapadacharya-ji is finally asking us to see very clearly. So in this examination of the various viewpoints, the Brahma as a Karanam was rejected, and then some of the other viewpoints. And we will see today that there are really what is called the Vaidika's viewpoints. There are 6. In fact, if we want, we can do that even now. So this is what is called the Asti Cause. So yeah, we could even just look at in the very beginning itself. So the Asti Cause, I remember when I was growing up, when my grandfather and people will say in Hindi, "Wo to nastik hai." And so the understanding at that point was that that person does not consider the existence of God. This is the meaning of the Nastik. Then when I started to follow Swami Dayanandaji's teaching, I realized, and now it has been confirmed by my own studies through the years, that the word astika doesn't mean the presence or acceptance or non-acceptance of God. It means the acceptance or non-acceptance of the Vedas. Very interesting thing that will come up before we go into this. So the word astika means those who take Vedas as a pramana. Those who take Vedas as a pramana. And so, in fact, let me kind of give you a quick thing to think about. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you this question and have you spend about half a minute to a minute thinking about the answer in your own mind. And the question is, what are the means to knowledge in our life? What are the Pramanas for Jnanam to take place? Jnana means Prameya. Prameya means to know. And Pramana means a valid proof of knowing. What are those? Just think about it. I'll just be quiet for about half a minute. So, I don't know how many you have counted, and you should know this by heart by now. There are 6 generally accepted pramanas. One of them is, and I'll just do the Sanskrit words for them, pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means a direct perception. Like, for example, you say, I saw a person. I saw that person in the downtown yesterday. So that's a proof. That's a proof. Unless you are kidding, if you say I saw a person, that means that's a proof. This is called pratyaksha. The second one, as you know, is anumana. Anumana means inference. And the inference requires a previous experience which is incontrovertible. Like for example, whenever there is a fire, there must be a smoke. So when you see a smoke, you don't see the fire directly. You say, I think there is fire. So this is the inference. This is number one. Number two. The third one is called Anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhi means that a thing is absent is also a pramana. That is there a dog in this room? No, I don't see a dog in this room. So even though the dog is not there, but the absence of dog is a pramana. I can see it also. This is also is really pratyaksha is at the basis of all of these. So this is number three. Then the fourth one is upamana. Upamana means a direct comparison with something, that this thing looks like this, and so by that you can see, yes, it is there. I won't go into the detail of all of this. Then the other one, the fifth one, is what is called arthapatti. This is the harder one to understand. And for now, arthapatti means multi-level anumana. Multi-level anumana. And that means that there is no other way to deny that. And the example there is that if there is a person who says, I don't eat much. I'm fasting most of the time. I've grown older. I don't have much of an appetite. The person is gaining weight. So if he's gaining weight and he is overweight, for him to say, I don't eat much, this doesn't really jive. So this is called Anupalabdhi, means that there is no other way that the person can gain weight. And so that means there is a multi-level anumana. He must be eating food. He must be eating food at times that we don't see him. He has a reason for hiding, and he has a reason for exaggerating. All those kinds of anumanas you have to do. This is called Anupalabdhi. Then comes Shabda, words. And so the example, of course, is that if there is a person in the room, you may be talking to him and so on and so forth, but you don't realize that he's the local mayor. Until somebody introduces and says, have you met? This is our local mayor. Then you had heard about him, but you didn't know what he looked like. This is called Shabda Pramana. Okay, so now we can go back to Astika. Astika means those who have Shraddha in the Vedic words as Pramana. It's like somebody saying, this is the mayor of Cupertino. Then you have to see how truthful that person is. And there's no reason for a person to lie like that. But suppose you have Vedas, and you have some very subtle things to talk about the origin of universe and so on and so forth. If the Vedas say this is what it is, through words, then you can either accept it or not accept it. So those who accept it are called astikas, and those who do not accept it are called nastikas. Again, I will ask you to think about the 6 different astikas. There are 6 astikas, so 6 different viewpoints. They may be slightly different from each other, and they are, but they all have Shraddha that what the Vedas are saying is correct. Now, what the Vedas are saying may be different. Their interpretation is different, but overall they feel that Vedas are really the final word. You know those, this is what is called Shad Darshana. Darshana means a viewpoint. So in Sanskrit it's a technical word. Darshana means just a vision. But here they mean that this is who they think what the truth is. So there are 6 darshanas, Shad darshanas. You know what they are? You should know this with this advanced class. There are 6 of them. And we have talked about it. They come in a family of 2 each. So there are 3 families of 2 that are very close to each other. Anyway, so the answer is the first 2 are Sankhya and Yoga. And the difference here is Sankhyas do not believe in Ishvara. So here the Ishvara comes is a separate issue from the words of Vedas. Is a separate issue altogether. We'll come to that in a minute. But here the distinction, both are astikas, but one believes in Ishvara, the other one doesn't. Sankhya does not believe in Ishvara and Yoga believes in Ishvara. Anyway, they for most part are close to their viewpoint, so that is one family. Then the second family is Vaisheshikas and Nyayikas. Nyaya and Vishesha. Vaishesha. We've already looked at Vaisheshika. So this is the viewpoint of people who are very scientific and logical in their approach, including the modern science. They'll say, no. I don't believe any of this. You have to show this to me. Where is consciousness? I have to see consciousness. And I can't understand where. If you cannot prove it to me, I won't accept it. This is the and also there are some differences between Nyaya and Vaisheshika. Nyayas believe that the origin is through particles. A lot of the modern science also believes that. Anyway, so these 2 people are close together philosophically. Nyaya and Vaisheshika. Then comes Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. So Purva Mimamsa means the karmatas, who believe that karma is the most important thing. It really determines the entire evolution. And so they are experts in understanding how karmas are stored, when the karma phala takes place, how to appeal for the karma results to be attenuated somewhat, like when you have overeaten. Yes, you're going to get some stomach issues, but you can attenuate it. You can reduce it by having some prayaschita karma. So they are experts in karma. And Uttara Mimamsa are the Vedantins, us, the one that we are studying. So these 2 are close together, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa, but quite a bit of difference. Purva Mimamsa, the karmatas, do not believe in Ishvara. Don't believe in Ishvara. They think karma is the primary cause of our life's problems and we can solve it. We don't need any Ishvara. And the Vedantins say, what are you talking about? That's incredible. So the Vedantins just give one small thing to talk about. And here Swami Maheswaranji had given this beautiful example. I had not seen that in that form. So sometimes, I keep saying this, that I'm sure that Swami Dayanandji must have given at that time, but it didn't register in my mind. Now that I'm reading some of the very advanced books by Swami Maheswaranji, the examples suddenly strike me as being very important. So it's not as though one is better than the other. It's just my own preparation allows me to see this. So Swami Maheswaranji said, listen, suppose you throw a rubber ball, hopefully just a rubber ball, not a baseball, on your wall. So what happens is that the rubber ball comes back to you in a very predictable fashion. You may have some differences in how hard you throw it, or how softly you throw it. That's a different thing. But the wall does not vary its response to you. So that means that the wall is jada, is inert. So you can say there is a karma and a karma phala. The karma is throwing the ball at the wall. The karma phala is that it comes back to you in some fashion. And so the relationship between throwing the ball and coming back to you is not determined by the wall. It depends upon you. Okay? All right. This is case number one. Case number two is that you do some work for a boss in a company, and you expect a raise because you had worked very hard, and you don't get it. And you find somebody else who didn't work quite as hard. He says, "Oh, I got a big raise today." And you feel very bad. What is it? Where is the relationship here between hardworking and not getting a raise? So here the answer is, the person who decides to give you a raise is not inert. He is a Chaitana Vastu. And as a Chaitana Vastu, there are a number of factors involved in determining whether to give you a raise or not. You already may have gotten a big raise last year, and he thinks it should not be repeated every year. He expected you to work hard. The other person may not have gotten a raise for a long time, and he finally got one. We don't know. There are a number of factors can be there. So therefore, Vedantins tell the karmatas, don't you see that the karma phalas that you get are not predictable? Not predictable. Maybe over a long period you can see some sequencing and predictability, but on a given case, so we say that there has to be Ishvara who is a Chaitana Vastu. He's alive. He's like a human being. He has to consider all of your... Yes, karmas are important because nothing is given without any reason. But there can be changes depending upon a number of different factors which would not have been the case in the case of karma. Anyway, so I'm just giving you some side commentary on these things. So going back to the Vedikas, so this is what is called Asti Cause. This is the Shad Darshana. So the Shad Darshana is Sankhya, Yoga. Then you have Vaisheshika and Nyaya. Then you have Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. These are the 6 Shad Darshana. Then you have Nastikas. And Nastikas are many, many, many. And so their main viewpoint is we do not accept the words of Vedas. That doesn't mean anything to us. Somebody wrote Vedas and so on. Why should we accept it? We have to really look at it ourselves from our own experience. And so here there are so many of them, including all of the modern ones like Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and so on. All of these, all the various variations. But in the old days, there were 2 main ones that did not accept the Vedic words. Those are Buddhists and Jains. They don't believe in the Vedas. Okay, Anyway, we'll look into their viewpoints, not the Jains, but the Buddhist view. We will look at it today. But anyway, what I was saying was that Gaudapada ji, first of all, is going to dismantle really all the accepted viewpoints, including the Vedic viewpoints, which we touched briefly upon last time, but this we will also complete that analysis today itself. So if you recall, where we were last week was to look at 6 different objections to the karma based, because the topic here is the origin of the whole universe. This is origination. This is what we're saying. Where did it come from? What is the Mula Karanam? What is the original reason for that to be born? So we looked into all of them. He had already looked into Asatkaryavada, Satkaryavada, all that was done. Now he comes back to the Karma Karyavada. This is what we started last week. Karma Karyavada means that these are the people who feel that karma is responsible for our situation in life, our past action, which it is, no doubt about it. We are not disputing that. But the question is, what is the relationship between karma and karma phala, which is a sharira, which means a embodied person, and the origin of the whole thing? How did it get started? This is the discussion. So last week we had given you 6 different ways that Gaudapadacharya ji is dissecting it. We had already done the first 4. Now let us look at the last 2, which is the more serious one. The last 2 were that karma and sharira are a part of a long series which is seed and tree, and it is never ending. It always goes on. Okay? And the 6th one is that this series is beginningless. It is anadi. These are the 6 ones. So we had already looked at the first 4. Now let's look at number 5. So here it was pointed out that this doesn't make any sense. Number 5 meaning that it's a series that goes on and on and on. Because it's a double talk to say that it doesn't have a beginning, and then to explain how it began. You're talking from both sides of your mouth. Either you accept that there is no beginning, or you can accept that there is no ending, or you can accept that yes, it had a beginning, but here's how this series of karma and sharira started. So this is a logical fallacy in its formulation. Okay. Then the last one, that the logical fallacy of the formulation that this is anadi. Anadi means that it never really began. So here we say that this part is okay for the 3 stages of our understanding, which is Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Okay? So these are the 3 stages of the understanding of the human being. Okay? And we will tackle that in just a minute, but the fact is that there is a fallacy about saying that there is anadi, non-beginning, for this series. Series being karma and sharira. Karma gives rise to one sharira, and that sharira does some actions, And as a result of that actions, a new body is formed in the next life, and like that. This is the thing. So then Gaudapada Acharya asks, are you anadi? When you say anadi, it is kind of like an adjective. So you're describing the noun, which is karma and sharira, and then you say that beginninglessness is a adjective, isn't it? Like, for example, you say, this is my friend. And then you can say, he's one of the kindest people I knew, that I know. So the person is a noun and kindness is the adjective. So here also Gaudapada Acharya says, listen, the series is the noun and the anaditvam, the non-beginningness, is an adjective. Now let me ask you, in this case, are you saying that the karma is anadi? In other words, the adjective is to be associated with karma, or with sharira, or with the series. And he says that it doesn't apply to all three of them. How? Because every karma has a beginning. We all know this. You overeat something and then that's a karma. So you cannot say it has been there forever because it had a beginning. So the anaditvam is not associated with karma. Is it associated with sharira? No, because the sharira also has a beginning and an ending. Okay, that doesn't really apply. So it must be associated with the series. And Gaudapada Acharya says the series has no existence. It's not even a noun, because the series is consisting of the karma and sharira. There is no separate entity which is called as sharira. And Swami Paramarthananda gives a very beautiful example. He says, take an example of what is called fruit salad. So you can say, some guests are coming and so we're going to make a fruit salad. So the fruit salad, this combination of two words, is kind of like a series. Is there anything called fruit salad? No. That is just a name given to fruits. You have different kind of fruits that you mix up together, and you may put maybe a chaat masala once in a while, but those are all specific things. There is no such thing as a fruit salad. That's just a name. So the series also cannot be anadi. So we don't accept that the series is anadi. Then the last one, number 6. The number 6 says that it's totally timeless. It just goes on and on and on. And so there is a beginning, there is an ending, then there is another beginning, then there is another ending, and this one just goes on, and this is the way things are, and you cannot really take it literally, and this is how it is. So now Gaudapada Acharya ji takes this apart in the last one. He says that means that moksha, which is what we all are looking for, a way out of the problems of life, it's called moksha, will never come. Will never come. Why is that? Because if moksha begins, suppose you say, yeah, we don't have moksha right now, but we are looking for a way and then we're going to gain moksha. if moksha comes, that means there is a birth for moksha. You leave aside this series business. Leave that aside. What we are looking for is, what is the purpose of what we are doing? Our purpose is to solve the very disease of life. Not the symptoms of it, but the very basic disease of life. This is what we want to solve, and we want to be done forever. This is what we are all seeking. All human beings are born with that desire. So that means moksha. That means moksha I don't have right now, but it will begin. And Veda says whatever begins, what is the logic that it will not end? In fact, the logic is that whatever begins must end. So that means that moksha may come, and then the moksha will disappear. So that means you'll have to work again. Is that what you're calling anadi? That you'll have to continuously gain moksha, lose moksha, gain moksha, lose moksha? Doesn't mean any sense at all. So finally, so this is really all of them is rejected. And I think he makes it, I forget the name of the verse that he was talking about. We're not going verse by verse, just concept-wise. So, one other thing, and then we will summarize it. So one, the people who look for the karma karya vada and they say, wait a second. The Vedas does say there is creation, and the Vedas words are never wrong. If you are a Vaidika, you have to accept what the Vedas are saying, and there are so many references to creation. Purusha Suktam, creation. Taittiriya, Atmanaha Akashaha Utpannaha, Babhuva. Creation, 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 creation. All of them. Why? Why don't you just accept those words and try to find it? So this is where the Advaita Sampradaya really comes up. And this clarification, which I think really got started in revival with Gaudapadacharya ji, and then Shankara has done a marvelous job of explaining this in a very logical way that people can grasp and so on. That wisdom says, yes, Vedas do say creation, but the creation is for the stage of Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda, not in the Jnana Kanda. So people will say, what? How can you say that? You cannot say this only applies to this person, doesn't apply to the other person, and so on. Why does the Veda even say that there is creation only to say later there is no creation? Well, that doesn't make any sense. So it is said that no, it does make sense, because if the Vedas starts from the beginning to say there is no creation, nobody would even study the Vedas. They will set it aside and said, not for me. Why not? Because I see the whole world consisting of series of creations. Everything is a creation. Even my making rotis from atta is a creation. Everything is a creation. And for Vedas to say there is no creation, what are they talking about? So Vedas say that in the very beginning, I accept creation provisionally. You just look at it for a while, then when you strengthen your mind and make it more subtle, the final answer is that there is no creation. And it is a little bit like, we talk about the The scaffolding was one example. Another example, which is much more prevalent in our studies, is that of walking on crutches, with the help of crutches, not on crutches, with the help of crutches. So that means that a person's legs or knee or whatever is not strong enough to carry the weight of the entire body. It buckles under. It has some weakness. And so what is required is, you go to a doctor and he says, yeah, you broke your bones and so on, and you're going to have to need some crutches. And how long, we don't know, but generally maybe 2 months, 3 months, something like that. So now you go and buy some crutches, and now you walk on crutches. When you walk on crutches, you do not expect to be on crutches the rest of your life. This is a temporary issue. And while you are using the crutches, you have to strengthen the muscles by doing some physical therapy. And as you begin to do physical therapy, your muscles finally come back to health, and one day, very tentatively, you throw away the crutches. There also somebody holds your hand. Not easy, but it can be done. And one day you'll find you put the crutches away and it becomes a memory. This is exactly like this. So really speaking, Gaudapadacharya ji argues that, listen, in the beginning, you have to accept the karma theory. You have to gain that insight. Yet there is something. This itself is a very big thing. As I was mentioning about getting a raise, and this is a big issue because people don't realize that really everything has the stamp of Ishvara. This coronavirus has a stamp of Ishvara. You think that he is unaware of it? Oh, I don't know. People have reported, there's a Ishvara, there's a big problem going on in here. This is a coronavirus is really killing people and we don't know what to do, and the whole thing has been, everybody's in quarantine and so on. Did you know that, Ishvara? You say, oops, I didn't know that. So tell me more about what's happening. And I don't know if I can help or not, let me see. It's ridiculous. Ishvara is the one that did the whole thing. So for us to even understand the law of karmas and the existence of Ishvara and the knowledge of Ishvara to provide the right kind of karma phala at the right time is itself a very big thing. Now, if the Vedas start saying, there is no beginning, no karma, no nothing, absolutely, which is what the ending will be. But if it says that in the very beginning, you think anybody is going to even study the Upanishads? So therefore, Gaudapadacharya ji argues that, listen, you do not take this series of karma, sharira and satkaryavada and so on too seriously. Don't do that. So he summarizes this by saying that the origination of the world has to be negated. The existence of the world has to be negated. The appearance of the world has to be accepted. And once I understand it is mithya, then one has to understand that there is nothing to be done, there is something to be known. I am not going to gain moksha, I am going to gain the status of understanding that I have always been mukta, always. But I think I was not. That has to be thought about. So the conclusion in the 23rd verse, now I can see that, is that the karma is an appearance, the sharira is an appearance. I don't need to get liberated. I just have to understand that I have always been mukta. And so it is really a question of, it is like saying that all your visions of the snake, now we can bring in that example as opposed to the gold and ornaments. Because remember, in the gold and ornament example, there was a question of karana karya, that there is some change in the gold. In the example of the rope and snake, there is no change in the rope. It is just the wrong vision. Somehow you came up to the feeling that it is a snake, but it's not. There is no touching of the rope and the snake. There's no change in the rope to become a snake. That's the point. So therefore, with this, all theories about creation have been dealt with. That there is no creation at all. It is an appearance of creation. Difficult as it is for us to see, but this is what the subtlety of thinking and the strength of thinking means. It means that I don't accept things that I experience at the face value. I go behind the scenes and seek assistance from the Vedic knowledge to say what is going on. And what they see is that this is like a dream. And if you don't have a happy life, it's like a nightmare dream. But it'll go. It'll go. It's not going to stay forever. It's just an appearance. This is the conclusion of Gaudapadaji's meticulous examination of the various schools of thought, the various Vadas, including the Vedikas. See, this is the interesting thing, that if you take the Vedas words at the face value and not inquire into it, you accept the crutches of creativity, and not creativity, but creation forever, you're never going to get out of it and be strong yourself. And so the theory of creation may be relevant in Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda. Karma Kanda, you can see this, just my way of thinking. Karma Kanda means that you have to strengthen your muscles while you are on crutches. You cannot be on crutches forever. You have to do physical therapy. Upasana Kanda is where you seek the right guidance. You go to the right doctor. You go to the right physical therapist. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I had a shoulder, what is it called? Rotator cuff was because I was lifting a weight about 2-3 years ago, which is much more than what I should have done. And I had a tremendous pain. I couldn't even lift and I went to the doctor and he says, yep, your rotator cuffs are torn. And so then I had to ask for the right kind of physical therapy. And I got a very good fit, this local place called Agile in Palo Alto. And sure enough, this person just said, oh, this is a piece of cake. But you have to do all of this. And so I have to seek for the advice. This is what we'll call Upasana Kanda. All of this is temporary. When Jnana Kanda comes, it says, listen, you don't have to do any karmas. You don't have to do any prayers. You are it. You are the very Brahman. And if that is clear to me, then, and it won't be clear to me until I've gone through Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda. It's a process. Anyway, so this is where we are. So in let's see if we can finish this, but now with verses number 24 to 28. This is the next topic. So the last one was number 14 to 23 of the Alata Shanti Prakaranam. And now we switch over to a new topic. And the new topic is the examination of the Nastika Darshanam. Not the Astika Darshanam. The Astika Darshanam now is over. Now we have to look at people who do not believe in Vedas. So here we are taking the one that is more credible to people, and yet they reject the Vedas, which is Buddhists. So now let's look into the Buddhistic view, and I hope I can finish it. If not, then we'll have to continue next week. But now this is all not to negate, not to really, feel superior to them, but to understand what is the flaw in their logic so that my understanding of Vedanta becomes even clearer. Okay, so that's the next thing that we do. So there are 4 different segments of Buddhism that we should know about. So technically, Swami Paramarthananda has given Sautrantika Darshanam, Vaibhashika Darshanam, Yogachara Darshanam, and Madhyamika Darshanam. These are the 4. You don't have to remember them. The first one says that the external world is real because I see it. They say just don't go into behind the. You see something and you say this is it, real. That's it. This is number 1. System says that the real world exists because of not pratyaksha but anumana. Anumana means, inference means, so it's a slight difference between them, that because it gives me problems, therefore it must be real. And you even anticipated that as long as I am having problems, then it has certain reality to it. So they ascribe reality to the external world. These are the first 2. Number 3 says, and the number 3 is closest to Vedanta. In fact, let's examine that in more detail. I hope I can finish this. So the number 3 says that it is really nothing but consciousness alone. Everything else appears to be outside, but it is just consciousness. So we say, wow, that's wonderful. They are very much like us. And the 4th one says that not only is the external world mithya, but even the person who is looking at it is also mithya. Everything is mithya. This is what is called shunyavada. So these are nihilists, means there is nothing going on. You just sit there and quietly see that even you are not there, the world is also not there. These are the 4 methods. Okay? So one thing to see here is that the first 2 are popularly known as Hinayana. And the word Hinayana is actually given by Buddhists themselves, which means the inferior view. The inferior view is called Hinayana. So that is the first 2. Means that it is ridiculous. How can you say that? It doesn't make any sense that everything is external, it's real, and so on. Then the second one is called Mahayana. So these are popular things that we know. There are certain countries and certain people who continue to believe in Hinayana. But generally speaking, the propagation of Buddhism in the Asian countries, in Tibet, Japan, China, Southeast Asia, is Mahayana. And the Mahayana also has some differences. What is it called? What's it called? I forget the name of it. I was looking at it yesterday. Maybe I don't remember. The word is coming back, but it's not quite there in my mind. So anyway, so there are some differences between sects within Mahayana also. But really looking at, of course, Buddhism is now mostly externalized. It's not as powerful in India as it used to be. But all the surrounding countries that we have use Mahayana including Tibet. So including Dalai Lama and so on are the proponents of Mahayana. Number 3 primarily. Not the Shunyavadi, but this is what is called, anyway, so the Mahayana, which is also called Yogacara. So that's another word for them, Yogacara. So now, what is the position of Yogacara? The position of Yogacara is, as I said before, that really everything is nothing but consciousness. So we say, wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's pretty much what we say. That's great. So they say everything is just is consciousness. Then they made a very crucial blunder. Very crucial blunder. So here's what they say. So this is what is called Kshanika Vijnanam. Momentary knowledge, momentary consciousness. It's called Kshanika. So these are now the popular one. The word Yogacara or Mahayana are not as popularly done as the word Kshanika Vijnanam and Shunya Vijnanam. Shunya Vijnanam means that even the Atma is also Shunyam. So we don't understand how that is, because something has to remain. Otherwise, where is moksha? No, nothing. So we don't understand how can they be so ridiculous. But anyway, let's leave them aside. These Kshanika Vijnanam, I think we have to really look at that. So even though they were formulating their plans very close to the way the Vedantins think, they made a big blunder. And as a result, it deserves desertion. There is absolutely no truth to it. What is that blunder? The blunder is they feel, and by the way, the reason all this comes about, rejection of the Vedas, and we should also understand that we don't know if Buddha was the proponent of all this. All we can say is that the Buddhistic view has evolved into all these, which is very much unlike the Vedika view, because our Vedas stay the same. You may have people like Ramanuja talking about Vishishta Advaita and so on and so forth. Sikhs talk about Vedanta in a different way. But the original Vedanta stays the same. And it's the same texts that have been used for thousands of years. Same Sampradaya. That's not the case in Buddhism. We don't know that. So we cannot blame Buddha for these views. But the current view is for the Kshanika Vijnanam, and this is the blunder, that consciousness comes and goes. So they argue that if you are looking at a scene right now, that is consciousness of this view. Then you look at something else, the consciousness of that view is gone, a consciousness of a new way, a new scene comes. So scene number 1 is conscious number 1, scene number 2 is consciousness number 2. And what happens? consciousness number 1, as soon as it ends, it starts the second one, which is called consciousness 2. So this is called Kshanika Vijnana. And this is something like a film. Like a film which is, when played together quickly, it looks like a single one, but they're all different frames. So really speaking, their idea is that the consciousness also does not stay the same. It changes depending upon what the relationship is to the scenes. And so this viewpoint, Gaudapadacharya ji of course dismisses it very in a very brief fashion and saying doesn't make any sense. But this is taken up in great detail by his Shishya's Shishya, which is Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara just destroys this by so many arguments. And so this is given in Bhashyas for excuse me, Brihadaranyaka. I think Swami Paramarthananda had pointed out some of this. Yeah, Brihadaranyaka, Brahma Sutras, in Upadesha Sahasri, he very definitely destroys the viewpoint of the Kshanika Vijnana. For example, he says, now wait a second. Are you saying that consciousness number 1 stays long enough to transfer its understanding to consciousness number 2? The Buddhist says no. Consciousness number 1 is completely gone. So then how is memory communicated from one to the other? Oh, it just happens by itself. Happens by itself? This is not an explanation. Anyway, so the Kshanika Vijnanam, and so we can even argue that when moksha comes, who gets the moksha? What kind of a consciousness is that is now staying? You're saying this is all temporary anyway. Lots of issues. Finally, we say this is not worth even thinking about, let alone accepting it or anything. And so all the theories of Buddhism are examined and rejected. And so with this, all of the views are examined and rejected, including the Vedic view that there is creation, as we went through before. So now Gaudapadaji consolidates the teaching with verse number 29, and we will take that up next week. So that's how this class ends, by a consolidated view of the fallacies in various viewpoints, and strengthening the basis of thinking in the Advaita Vedanta Sampradaya. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyah Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yam Kshobharahitaha Brahmanas Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhaved Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Let's see any questions about today's class. Comment from Narayan. In Buddhism, with regard to Buddhism, are the first two close to Dvaitam and the second two are close to Advaitam? In a way, you might say that because the external, the reality of the external world being equated to the internal world on the same level is Dvaitam. So yeah, you might say that in that sense. But it doesn't dovetail neatly as Dvaita or Advaita. It just takes a different dimension of looking at it. So you cannot just say that these are only Dvaitans either. For example, in the Shunyavadina, where are you going to put that in? That's neither Dvaita nor Advaita. It doesn't mean anything. So that one you have to reject. Then, the number 3, which is the Kshanika Vijnanis, is it Advaita? Not really, because they have their own strange formulation that there are differences between consciousness 1 and consciousness number 2, which is kind of like Advaita. So I am not so sure in characterizing them purely on the basis of Dvaita or Advaita. Any other questions that you have about today's class? Don't see any other comments. I'll wait for a second, for a minute or so. Yeah, I think that that formulation of the thinking about the Vedika system itself is a very beautiful one. It is because it bridges the gap between the saying that there is creation to saying there is no creation, and formulating that thesis that it is temporary is a very beautiful one, really. This is what we have to really think about. And you can almost evaluate where each one of us are in terms of where our understanding lies, and this is exactly what we need to do. It is kind of like a person who is using crutches, but unless the person is told that you have some incurable disease and you may have to rely on the crutches for the rest of the life, which is a possibility that might happen. But if you know that that's not the case, then our attempt should be to accelerate getting out of the crutches, even though you're using crutches. So, for example, many of us may still be at the Karma Kanda and the Upasana Kanda stage, where we do require the help of Ishvara for our evaluation of who we are. But as we were saying in the meditation, that we want to really strengthen our thinking. Strengthen meaning in the case of making it more pure, more subtle, and improve, because that is the end. And you're given enough time. And if you run out of time, you're given more time later on in another life. Doesn't matter. But the end should be very clear to us that it is really just an appearance rather than any real reason why it is there or not there. Anyway. Rani Goel, I'm not very clear regarding the fallacy of shunya in the Buddhist thinking. We don't even, there is really not any examination of a fallacy. The examination of the fallacy could be that, don't you see that you are? Shunyavadin says you are not there. Hey, even to say that this is a fallacy, we can construct it. Even to say that I am not there, you have to say I am there, isn't it? It's very much like going to a doctor, as many of the acharyas have pointed out, and saying, "Doctor, I make an appointment with you." And he says, "What's your problem?" "I want to know whether I am alive or not." The doctor says, "You're coming to the wrong doctor. You have to go to a mental hospital." So the fallacy of Shunyavadins is that, and also another one, the Shunyavadins say, no, I know I am here right now, but if you understand that I am not there, that will be your moksha. That could be an answer by the Shunyavadins. I'm not saying that you're not there right now, but the end result would be, after doing a lot of work, studying for a whole lifetime, you arrive at a point that I am not there. What kind of nobody wants to be not there. Okay, anyway, so that would be my two contributions to the Gajananam. Doesn't seeing the salad as non-substantial as opposed to the fruit negate everything as mithya? The fruit is also nothing but molecules, atoms. Yes, I think in a relative sense. So we were just talking about the fact that eventually if you break down everything, including the fruits, it would really amount to the same thing. We're not going that far. That construct of the example was to only look at the anadi as being either associated with specific elements or a family name given to it. That's all, and it doesn't apply to any one of them. But then eventually everything has to be discarded once you go deeper into it, yeah. So Rani says, so the consciousness is also not there. According to them, yes. Although I am not, this is just our cursory view of what the Shunyavadins say. So if you were to get some expert in here, they might say, you don't understand what we are saying. That's very possible. But at least on the face of it, they're also saying that consciousness being, so I can see the Shunyavadins and the Kshanika Vijnanis fighting with each other. The Kshanika Vijnanis say that it is pulsating. And the Shunyavadins will say that the end point of the pulsation is nothingness. And that means that why don't you take it all the way? Even the pulsation is just a momentary kind of a thing. It all resolves into silence. There is nothing there at all. They might say something like that. And by the way, one issue with respect to the pulsating thing, like likening it to a movie, because individually the frames are not, they are jada, but when you put them together it looks like it's alive. What we say is that for that to happen you need a steady light. Yes, there may be pulsating on the screen, but there is a steady light that makes it happen. What is that steady light? That is the Sakshi. Surendra, some Vedantins claim Shunya same as Purna, Swami Sukhabodhananda. I think this is giving credit to, they might do that, I don't know, I've not seen, they might give them some credit and say, Shunya means moksha and Purna. But why did you just accept what we are saying? Why did you come up with another name? If you say that what we say is Shunya, Shunya means nothing. In fact, the name itself is wrong. And then for someone that has to equate the two as being similar, what's the need for that? Just accept. I tell you, this is all ego. All formulations of religious thoughts are egoistic. No, we have a different way of looking at it. The Vedas are old and those, but nowadays it's a new way of. This is exactly what it is. Just if you think that Shunya is Purna, then accept Purna. Why'd you come up with a new name? Anyway, that's my thinking. Shobhana Dalal, I thought Shunyavadins think the world came out of Nohinyo. I don't know what Nohinyo is. So I don't know what the word Nohinyo, Nohino. So I don't know what that means, so I'm not sure of your question. Akshay, ultimate message of I am the source of permanent security and happiness must drown any insecurity of ahankara mind. Yes, of course. Absolutely. Shobhana says, I mean nothing. So yeah, in a way, though there could be like, the Asat Karyavada. So that's an interesting point, Shobhana, that you make. That is that the Shunyavadins and the Asat Karyavadins of the Vedikas are saying the same thing. And this is why, if you recall, the Asatkaryavadi was not even commented on by Gaudapadacharya, saying it's not worth commenting on. Let the Sankhyas and the Vaisheshika, that was the Vaisheshika view. Let the Vaisheshika and Sankhya just fight, and let whoever wins, then we will take that person on. So in a way, it's interesting what you say is that the Shunyavadins of the Nastikas are saying the same thing as the Vaisheshikas of the Astikas. Those two are similar. Yes, I can see that point. Rani says, in fact, I think that is exactly the controversy, as I understand, which is not deep. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of. This is why the Advaiting view is, in a way, that somebody says, "Do you see a snake in there? I don't see a snake." Then I see something else. You don't see a rope as it is. You see that it is some kind of a hose. It's a different. Maybe it's a lizard. So you have different views of that. And the person says, Baba, nothing of like that is true. It is what it is. It doesn't move. It is harmless. And it's beautiful. I left it there yesterday. And you're making all kinds of arguments. So I'm not going to argue with you. I should just say that I see something that you don't see. That's all. Rani, with respect to reference to Shunya and Purna. So this is just a battle of words, really. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't deserve our serious consideration. Okay, I think I'm running out of time. I better get prepared for the next class in 15 minutes. So thank you all. Bye-bye.